Good afternoon, this is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and I bring you all my Spellbook deck profile 2022 post Banlist. And as you can see, we have a Jalgan the Spiritualist here, ready to ruin every meta player's best day, because now we can special summon Jalgan at the end of our turn with Judgment. What a powerful card to come off the Banlist. I'm super excited to go into this deck profile. We have a whole bunch of really cool tech surprises for you. And let's go straight into it. First things first, we play one Jalgan the Spiritualist. This card is a old staple in Spellbook. For those of you who don't know what Spellbooks are, Spellbook is an archetype that was meta in 2014 and maybe a little bit of 2015. I really don't. I think 2015 was Power the not Power the Elements, a Duelist Alliance, and like hat formats and stuff like that. But like around the time Dragon Rulers were still legal. So when Dragon Rulers were legal, it was Spellbooks versus Dragon Rulers. Those are the two decks that shake the meta forever. Now you can also say Evil Swarms, but lately people have been saying Evil Swarms weren't really in contention. It was more like the budget deck that everyone was playing, and that's why it topped so much. But again, I still think that it was counted. So it's Evil Swarm, Spellbook, and Dragon Rulers. Dragon Rulers completely banned. But Spellbooks never was banned. They just lost one card, and they kind of broke the deck. They also took a whole bunch of other hits, and like Fate was at one for a long time. But eventually they got all their cards back but Judgment, and the deck was still not doing anything. Hadn't really got support. I think the only support they got in recent years was the Link 2, which is a really, really good card, which we'll get into. But other than that, Spellbooks is a very cool control spell type deck. It was actually the first spell type control archetype ever. It was the first basically Sky Striker. Except of Engage, it was Fate, which was banishing cards, which was really, really cool. And Jalgan is one of the best cards and tools for that. So Jalgan is basically one of the barrier statues. He's a barrier statue, he's a Thoughts of Diana, he's all those things. But basically imagine if what's it called? Infector Virus and Thoughts of Diana had a baby. That's what this guy is. So this guy says, discard one card from your hand, randomly discard one card from your hand to grave, and then destroy all special summon monsters on the field. And as long as this card remains on the field, no monsters can be special summoned. Very powerful effect, and we can special summon this off the freely renewed Judgment. Really, really good card. Level 3 spellcaster. Only 200, 700 or 200 attack? 200. Jesus. This guy is a weenie. But luckily we do protect Jalgan, so that's fine. Next, we play 2 Blue Boy. I know it's a Spellbook deck. This is our only Spellbook monster we're playing. This card is phenomenal. It's really, really great. It's a Rhoda for all your Spellbook cards. When this card is normal summon, search any normal Spellbook card, which is fantastic. Really powerful card. It adds anything you need at any time you want. Reason why we're not playing 3 is because there's so many engines in this deck. This deck's consistent enough, and you have a lot of conflicting normal summons. So this is a good 2 of, and that's a good 1 of. Next, we play 2 Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls is one of the best cards ever printed. When this card came out, Spiral became tier 0 for like 3 months, and then they had to ban Master Plan again, which was pretty interesting. But Magician's Souls is one of those cards that was played in a lot of meta decks and still sees meta relevance today. It basically allows you to draw cards by sending spell cards or traps you control from your field to grave to draw that many cards, which is really, really good. Also, it allows you to basically do a Dark Magician, but we're not doing that part. The only part about this guy that we use him for is the draw card, which is fantastic. We also play Illusion of Chaos. We should be playing 2 of him. We do not have 2. We only have 1. So I'm playing Pre-Preparation of Rites as a substitute. But this should be Illusion of Chaos. So Illusion of Chaos basically says reveal this card, add a Magician's Souls to the hand, and then shuffle 1 card from your hand to grave. Not hand back to deck, my apologies. Which is usually going to be either the Illusion of Chaos or some other useless card. Maybe a Jalgan that you accidentally drew. But really powerful card, helps you get into this guy. It should be 2/2, but sadly, we do not have a second Illusion of Chaos, so a pre-prep is just fine. For our next monster we play, it's everyone's favorite normal summon, Alistair the Invoker. Yep, we're playing the Alistair package. Why wouldn't we? We don't really use normal summons in his deck, and Alistair gives us access to really powerful fusions and Mechaba, and helps us win games with this card. Invoked is just really strong spellcaster engine, and why wouldn't you play it? It's just really strong. Alistair the Invoker, when he's normal summon, basically could add an invocation to your hand. And Invocation's a really good card because that's their spell card that allows you to fusion summon, which is great. Also, you could, if this card is banished, you could return it to the hand and then shuffle back an invocation card. At least actually, now that I think about it, I think that's what invocation does. My apologies. He has an honest effect. So you could discard his card. That spellcaster, or not, that fusion monster, gains 1,000 attack and defense. My apologies. I'm getting invocation and Alistair mixed up here. My apologies. Next we play 3 Dogmatica Ecclesia, the Virtuous. She is fantastic, a great card, and she is a must-have 3 of. She is great. So if your opponent controls a special summon monster from the extra deck, or you control a special summon monster from the extra deck, you just special summon her onto the field, and then she searches a Dogmatica card, which is fantastic. Then she cannot be destroyed by battle by opponent's special summon monsters from the extra deck, which is fantastic. A really powerful card, great searcher, and honestly not bad stats either. 1500 light, spellcaster, great card. Next we have our searcher targets, Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, the Knighted, a very powerful card. Basically, it's our negate. We search out Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis as our one of. If your opponent has a special summon monster from the extra deck, or you do, you special summon this card from your hand, and then you target one monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and then when this card battles, it gains 500 attack, which is fantastic. A really powerful effect, and a really strong monster. Our last monster that we play is Dogmatica Maximus. Now, Maximus is a little harder to summon. You must be special summoned by banishing an extra deck monster from your graveyard, which is kind of easy to do, but if you don't have access to monsters, it can be a little difficult. It could be a little bricky in hand sometimes, but in this deck that's super consistent, that doesn't really come up as an issue. Maximus basically says you can special summon this card by banishing an extra deck monster, and when he is summoned, during your main phase, you can send 2 cards from both players' extra decks to grave, which is a phenomenal effect, and you keep doing it every turn. Really powerful monster, great defense, overall great card. That is it for the monsters. Now it's for the spells and traps. First things first, we play 3 Magical Meltdown. Magical Meltdown is one of the best field spells of all time. It allows us to add Alistair who adds Invocation. Also, you cannot negate fusion summons, which is really stupid. Basically, let's say they try to Solemn Judgment your Invocation. Well, they pay half their life points, and Invocation still resolves because it cannot be negated. Really powerful effect. I used to play this in Fluffles because all the Fluffles have effects when they're summoned. Thus, you can pot the entire board while this card's on field, and they can't respond to it, which is great. Also play the 1 Terraforming to get to our Magical Meltdown, and yeah, we also play our 2 Invocations. Invocation was the card I was getting messed up earlier with Invoker himself, but this is our fusion card. We can special summon any fusion monster from our extra deck, which is fantastic. And then, if you have a banished Alistair, you go shuffle this card back into your extra deck and return that card to hand, meaning you have instant access to Alistair every turn, which is fantastic. We also play 3 Nadir Servant, our Engage, that was freely given to us. This card is amazing. This card says send a monster from your extra deck to grave in order to then add any Dogmatica card from your deck to your hand. Dogmatica monster, my apologies, from your deck to your hand, which is fantastic. You are locked out of the extra deck. I didn't mention that actually. Ecclesia does lock you out of the extra deck, but that's fine because we're a Spellbook deck. We really don't give a shit about the extra deck besides Mechaba and maybe Winda, so that's honestly fine. And a Dear Servant is just great removal. It does everything. It's removal, it's a draw one, it searches any Dogmatica monster. It's just a house of a card. I'm so happy it exists. Next, we play 3 Spellbook of Secrets. Spellbook of Secrets is also a Rhoda. We have 2 Rhodas in this deck, which is fantastic. Basically, Spellbook of Secrets says you can add any Spellbook card from your deck to your hand. It only activates the effect once per turn, but Spellbooks have a way to get around that. Really, really powerful card. It literally searches whatever you need. Judgment, knowledge, fate, whatever you need, this card will get to. Next, we play 2 knowledge. My apologies, we play 3 knowledge, because knowledge is pot of greed in this deck. Why wouldn't you play 3? Basically, you can send this card to your graveyard and a spellcaster monster to then draw 2. You only use this effect once per turn, but again, we can get around that as well. Really, really powerful card. There is an argument to be playing just 2, just for the fact that we don't play that many monsters. I know this looks like a lot, but we're never summoning out these 2. And we never want to send Alistair, and we never want to send these 2. We do sometimes want to send Jalgan, and we do want to send Blue Boy, and we can send Ecclesias, but that's about it. So sometimes our knowledge is a little dead in hand, and you don't want to see too many knowledges in hand, but it's still a really powerful card. Next, we play 2 Spellbook of Mastery, which is a very, very great card. Spellbook of Mastery basically says if you control a spellcaster monster, you can reveal one other Spellbook card in your hand, and then target one Spellbook normal spell in your graveyard, except Master, and you copy its effects. And that's really, really great. So basically, this card can become knowledge. It could become secrets. It could become judgment. This card allows you to do multiple spell card effects per turn, allowing you to get so much more advantage. This card is a mandatory 2 of. Very powerful card. Our last mandatory 2 of when it comes to the spellbooks is 2 Spellbook of Fate. I did buy 3 of these. I did consider playing 3 of these, but I think like 3 of these are a little too bricky. If you want to play 3, you can take out the Maximus, but I like Maximus in the deck. So personally, I say you play 2 Fate, 1 Maximus. Fate is a really powerful card. It gets effects based on how many spellbooks are engraved, and you banish them to get each effect. So if you banish 1 spellbook, you return 1 set spell or trap on the field to hand, which is great. Its second effect is you could change 1 monster on the field to face down defense position, which is Book of Moon. And then 3, banish 1 card your opponent controls, which is a fantastic card. This is really, really powerful and really, really strong in general. And I am really, really happy how this card works out, because you get multiple effects and just pop off from there. Next, we go on to our singular spellbooks. We play 1 Spellbook of Power. This card has always been good, but it needed a new home, and I'm glad this deck provides a new home. You can target 1 spellcaster monster you control. It gains 1,000 attack, and then this turn, each time a monster would be destroyed by battle by that monster, you add a spellbook from your deck to your hand. You only use this effect once per turn. So basically saying, when your spellcaster kills a monster by battle, you get to add a spellbook during the end phase, which is fantastic. Not only that, if you have a spellcaster that attacks multiple times, you can get this effect multiple times procced, which is really, really good. I'm still looking into that to get a spellcaster that attacks multiple times, but right now our target is Dogmatica Fleur de Lis, the Knight, this guy right here. And basically, this plus him makes him like a 4,500 attack monster, because he gains, well, actually, it becomes a 4,000, my apologies, because he'll gain 500 when he attacks, and then power will give it another 1,000. So he'll become a 4,000 beat stick immediately, and that can help you push for game quite easily in this deck. Not to mention, he'll get advantage when you kill a monster, which is fantastic. Our next spellbook is Spellbook of Wisdom. A really, really cool interactive card. Basically says target 1 spellcaster monster on the field, and then you can either make it unaffected by trap effects or spell effects, which is really, really good. Helps you against Imperm, helps you against Chalice, it helps you against Dark Ruler, things like that. Very, really powerful card. It's a good one-off. And finally, for our last spell, and the most important spell, we have Spellbook of Judgment, freely off the limited list, finally at 1. Thank God, this card is so good, and we're going to abuse the shit out of it until Konami eventually bans it again. Now, do I think Konami's going to ban it again? I don't think so. I think this deck is quite powerful, but I don't think it's meta warpingly strong. Tier Element and Splight are still the two best decks, and I feel like everyone's still trying to catch up. But I do think it makes Dogmatica and Invoked back in contention. I think that this deck kind of fell off the meta for a bit. It was kind of a tier 2 deck. But now with all these cards, I feel like it's a tier 1. I would say Splight and Tier Element are kind of like tier 0, if not tier 1.5. But I honestly think this deck could be tier 1. Honestly, this deck is really, really powerful. Maybe tier 0.5. It's definitely really strong. I would say like ABC Furions, Earth Machine, decks like that. I feel like this deck's definitely around there now. And if not, even more powerful because Judgment. Really, really strong card. But I haven't even started to talk about what Judgment does. So, during the end phase of the turn this card is activated, add Spellbook cards from your deck to your hand. Accept Spellbook Judgment up to the number of spell cards activated after this card's resolution. You can special summon from your deck one spellcaster type with a level that is less than or equal to this card's number. Basically, what this card is saying is that after this card is activated, every time you activate a spell card, you get to add another spellbook card during the end phase. So let's say you activate Spellbook of Judgment, then you activate like 6 spell cards afterwards. Well, then after that, you get to add 6 cards to your hand, and then you get to spell summon Jowgen. That's kind of busted. No joke. That's actually really, really strong. So, yeah, he's a crazy card. You're not going to see this every first turn, but holy shit, this card's amazing, and I'm so happy it's out. Finally, you have our trap cards. 2 Dogmatica Punishment. It does lock us out of our extra deck, but it doesn't matter because we're popping cards, which is fantastic. And then finally, our 1 Schism to help us make Winda, because we can make Winda very easy in this deck. And it's kind of like a plan B if they stop our little friend here in Jowgen. Because Jowgen, if stopped, allows us to access Winda, and then Winda will prevent them from playing anyway. So it's really, really strong. That's it for the main deck. I hope you all enjoy. Now it's time to go over the extra deck. Alright, so I forgot one more card. Spellbook of Eternity. So I think my card deck is a 41 or 40 card deck. So if you want, you could take out one of the knowledges and put it in Eternity. But Eternity is a really cool flex card where it's a good one-of. So basically, you target one of your banished Spellbook cards, and basically you get to add it to your hand, which is really, really cool. It allows you to basically get your Spellbook cards off Fate, which is really, really good. So now it's time to go over our extra deck, which honestly is important, but also not important at the same time. This deck is very powerful in the main deck. The Invoke engine allows us to access Mechaba and a whole bunch of really cool Shaddoll cards. But honestly, Jowgen plus Judgment is usually enough to win games. But to help push for games, we can also make Mechaba as well, which is also fantastic. Having a Mechaba to back up Jowgen is very, very strong. And that is why we're playing 3 Invoked Mechaba. Invoked Mechaba is one of the most powerful cards ever printed. Basically, it says, hey, if your opponent activates a spell, monster, or trap, you can discard that same type and negate it. Really, really powerful. Oh, and negate and banish it, no less. Really, really powerful monster. And great stats as well. With Alistair, he becomes a 3500. And that's really, really strong. Next, we played 2 Shaddoll Construct. Funny enough, this does come up. The light targets are a lot in this deck. And we don't play any Shaddolls in the main deck. But we do play Apkallone as our send. Thus, we're able to then banish Apkallone as our Shaddoll. And we can banish cards like Ecclesia or even Jowgen in our grave in order to special summon out Construct, which is a really powerful card. Now, we're not sending anything off Construct, which kind of sucks. But Construct as a 2800 that destroys anything by battle when it attacks it, it's really, really strong, and it's great removal. We're also playing 2 Apt Cologne because Apt Cologne's fantastic. We can also summon this card, funny enough, really easily in this deck. And basically, it does say 2 Shaddoll's with different attributes, which kind of sucks. But Winda's a dark, and Cologne's Construct's a light, so it's possible. And the only reason I'm really playing this one is because when this card is sent to graveyard, basically you get to add any Shaddoll spell or trap from your deck to your hand, meaning you can add Schism. So you have to wait into your servant, send this to grave, add a Dogmatica, and then this will trigger to then add a Schism to your hand, which is fantastic. Next we play 2 Winda. Everyone knows Winda. This card probably could be banned, and I wouldn't be complaining. This card's broken. Basically it says, hey, a Shaddoll monster plus a dark monster, and both players can only special summon once per turn. And this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Very, really powerful card. Really busted card. Evil card. But I love it. And then finally play 2 Entis because Entis is great. There is an argument to be playing 2 Garuda as well. But I like 1 Garuda because usually we're either sending an Entis or we're sending a Apt Cologne. So 1 Garuda is fine. Garuda's a draw 1. Entis pops a card. This adds Schism. And then finally, our last 3 cards, which are links, we play 1 Almirage, 1 Secure Garna. I know you can play the link 1 from Magistus. Magistus, I forgot what its name is. It's the link 1. But I personally am fine with Secure Garna and Almirage because it allows you to have more extra deck monsters in grave, allowing you to access a fire. So you can side deck the fire invoke monster or the fire Shaddoll monster if you really wanted to. And Secure Garna, of course, is a light that allows you to access Mechaba very easily. And also, Secure Garna is just really, really good because you can just end battle phases and win games. My friend has beat me twice with this card because they just made this card and be like, I win. And then finally, this should be Spellbook Crawley, but I do not own a Spellbook Crawley. Or at least if I do, it's somewhere in this bulk, and I don't want to look for it. So, Spellbook Crawley is a Link 2 Spellbook card. And it was a support we got during the Link era. It's a Link arrows pointing down. And basically what it does is that when this card's linked something, I think you add a Spellbook card from your deck to your hand, which is really, really strong. It's the only card we're missing. It's a really cool, powerful Link 2. And I forgot if it does anything else, but I just know it adds a Spellbook card. And that's about it. I hope you all enjoy. This is the extra deck. I hope you all take care. Don't do anything stupid. And enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.